so next to the next show tomorrow, so we don't have to rush it. But here's how they got offensive line. And again, it's not to say this is how it's going to line up. This is just what our lads has on the initial depth chart. From left to right, Rasheed Walker, left tackle, Aaron Banks, left guard, Elton Jenkins, center, Sean Ryan, right guard, Zach Tom, right tackle. And then backing them up, Anthony Belton, left tackle, John Williams, left guard. So there's your two rookies there in the backup role. Love it. Jacob Monk is your backup center, which that's really exciting to me. That Jacob Monk's got a full year under his belt. He was active pretty much the whole year, right? He didn't play a whole lot, but he got the dress and he got to go in here or there. Let's hope a full year in the offseason program and all that, he can be ready to take that role on if he has to kick in the center. Here's the other thing, though. If for some reason Elton Jenkins were to go down, it's so nice knowing that Zach Tom can play all-pro caliber center play, and then you can maybe kick Anthony Belton or John Williams out at right tackle, or who knows, maybe it's Jordan Morgan, right? So, but again, Jacob Monk listed as the backup center right here. Backup right guard is Jordan Morgan. I disagree with this. I think they're going to give Jordan Morgan every opportunity now that he's healthy from that shoulder to take that right guard spot from Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan going into a contract year, I think he'll be more in a backup role there. And then this guy that you may have heard of here, Travis Glover, is the backup right tackle. So,
you've ever heard Emilio talk ball? You've heard of Travis Glover.
Exactly. And then going to the third stringers, they've got left tackle Kadeem Telford, left guard our boy Tyler Cooper, the UDFA.
Here's the guy.
Third string center is Trey Hill. And then Donovan Jennings is the third string right guard. Brant Banks is the third string right tackle. And then, of course, they've got J.J. Lip as the fourth string left guard. And you've got Marquise Hayes as the fourth string right guard is how it's listed. So we'll start with you this time, Tim, looking at the offensive line here. What are we thinking, big dog? How do you agree with that starting five, or do you agree with me that maybe Jordan Morgan should start at right guard as opposed to Sean Ryan there?
That's kind of where I'm at. I agree with you, not to be boring and agree again, but I do. I think if we're going into camp, they're probably going to make every effort possible to put Jordan Morgan in that right guard slot. And but you feel good though, because Sean Ryan can hold his own there, right? So like you're not worried. Like if Sean Ryan is your number two right guard, you're doing okay. And arguably, if things went sideways with Trey Hill as a third string center, Sean Ryan could be in case of fire, break glass, emergency center if you really needed one. And honestly, maybe Tyler Cooper, the kid from Minnesota, I believe. He could even present himself as a third string backup center kind of scenario. So I feel pretty good here. Just again, super early looking at this. You think about the free agent signing that we made on the O-line with Banks. I feel really good about our O-line as a whole. I guess in closing, I would say cut the check for Zach Tom. Let's get it done.
Yeah, we got breaking news here.
Uh-oh.
This Atham says Travis Glover is Emilio's dad. So, all right, Jacob, what do you think about offensive line, man? How do you see it? It's terrible, Chuck.
I was trying to find while Tim was talking there how many we carried on the 2024 53-man roster to begin the season. I want to say it was 10 or 11, but if that's the case, or maybe it wasn't that much. I was hoping maybe somebody in the chat could check them out there, but again, I don't want to sound like I'm agreeing with you guys just for the sake of it, but Sean Ryan at right guard after two big drafts where I don't want to say waste, but where we use very high draft picks on guys that would be backups. I just don't see Goot and LaFleur being okay with that. So I think they're going to give them every single chance to at least get one of those two guys into that starting rotation. And to me, the most plug and play one seems like Morgan sliding into right guard. But again, this is an excellent problem to have, that we have such a deep room and we have, invested in those early rounds. And even if it's not an immediate ROI, if you look down the road in a year, even in 2 years, and even in this year, like you said, so many injuries, especially on offensive linemen, happen and can absolutely ruin your season. It can. It happened to us in one game. One guy went down, and we just didn't have enough juice to do anything after that point. So I'm okay with having this, like I said, quote unquote problem, but I definitely want to see if we can get our first round draft pick at least in that starting rotation.
Yeah, and here's the initial 53-man roster in terms of offensive linemen last year. Okay, Elton Jenkins, they kept 10, so you were right there, Jacob. Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, Rasheed Walker, Zach Tom, Jordan Morgan, Sean Ryan, Andre Dillard, Jacob Monk, Kadeem Telford, and Travis Glover. Now listen who they cut. Okay, so think of this entire roster we're looking at right now, and look at how much better it's built, in my opinion. They cut Royce Newman, Caleb Jones, Luke Tenuta, Lasita Smith, and Donovan Jennings. So
talk about trimming the fat, right?
Like seriously, when you look at this year's offensive line compared to last year, and you're talking about having people that made the initial 53, Kadeem Telford, Andre Dillard, that Josh Myers, you know what I'm saying? Like you basically swapped out Josh Myers for Aaron Banks, right? That's what you did there. And then Andre Dillard, you got a second round pick and Anthony Belton coming in his place, right? And then Kadeem Telford, I guess that would maybe be our boy John Williams, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel a lot better about this year's offensive line as it sits right now. Because again, you're looking at all those names and you throw in Royce Newman, Caleb Jones, Luke Tenuta, Lasita Smith, and Donovan Jennings. It's like,
yeah. But it's also
I feel like we took two gigantic steps forward, right?
Yeah. Especially because to me, like even with our backups, it's second year Jacob Monk, second year Jordan Morgan, second year Travis Glover, where they actually now have seen what it's like to go through the NFL season, what it takes. So I'm way happier with this group.
That's a great point. Great point. So if we kind of recap what we kept last year, just to kind of put a number on it. Quarterbacks, we kept 2, Jordan Love and Malik Willis, right? We released Sean Clifford and Michael Pratt, but of course Sean Clifford was signed later onto the practice squad. And I think if Michael Pratt hadn't gotten picked up by the Jacksonville Jaguars, we may have ended up choosing him over Sean Clifford for the practice squad. But of course, he got swooped up. Sean Clifford did not. That's why they kept him. Running backs, we only broke camp with 3, but just like I think it was Jay or it might have been Jarrell saying earlier in the chat, injuries kind of helped us make that decision. A.J. Dillon went on injured reserve. So we released Ellis Merriweather and Nate McCrary. So when you look at the running back room compared to this year, right? And hopefully we don't have a chat. Yeah, we don't have a chat on. Okay. So tell me if you think we're in better shape this year. Last year we broke camp with Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, and Emmanuel Wilson. Pretty much a push right there, right? But look at who we released last year. Ellis Merriweather and Nate McCrary. I feel a lot better about the running backs that we've got kind of going into camp here with Chris Brooks, who was on the 53 a good chunk of the year once we signed him.
And Amar Johnson.
Talked about. So it feels like it's another upgrade, right? Am I right there or no?
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. So wide receiver, we broke camp with 6. So we were correct with that. They were Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks, Malik Heath, and Bo Melton. So we released Grant Dubose, Samori Toure, Julian Hicks, Dimitri Stanley, and Jalen Wayne. You look at this wide receiver room this year, another situation where it's like Savion Williams, who's he going to replace on those 6? Probably Bo Melton, right? Who is Matthew Golden going to replace on those 6? Probably Malik Heath, right? So that's kind of how that sits there, right? So you would go in with Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Savion Williams, and Dontavion Wicks would be your 6. So the receiver room seems to have gotten better. Now, these guys got to go out there and do it, don't get me wrong. But now you're looking at being forced to release Malik Heath or Bo Melton, or both of them, as opposed to a Grant DuBose, Samori Toure, or Julian Hicks. So you definitely
Watson will be on IR, right? So we will have even.
That's correct. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. So that would be Malik Heath's spot. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm looking at the other screen, so I don't see that big bright red. You're right there. So that would be. I think it would personally be Bo Melton that would get cut. But interesting to see how many they carried, though, for sure. Tight end, they only carried 3 last year. And those were Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, and Ben Sims. Unfortunately, Jacob's favorite Packer of all time, Tyler Davis, had to go on IR. And then we ended up releasing Joel Wilson, Messiah Swinson, and Henry Pearson. So if we break camp with 3 again, I don't think we're going to have any problem getting John Fitzpatrick to the practice squad. So there's where you can make up a little ground. And I'm sure, seeing that we kept 10 offensive linemen, 6 wide receivers, breaking camp with only 3 tight ends on the active is probably 3 tight ends and 3 running backs is what allowed you to keep 10 offensive linemen. So going to be interesting, though. John Fitzpatrick. Am I wrong? I mean, I think Ben Sims would probably get scooped up by somebody. John Fitzpatrick, I'm not worried about him not making it to the practice squad. What do y'all think there?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's fair, especially because this was such a deep tight end draft too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that are trying to stash, their 3rd and 4th tight ends on their squad.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so in terms of the defensive side of the ball, we won't dive into, the depth chart yet, but here's what we broke camp with. 6 defensive ends, okay, and they were all edge rushers, so let's just call them edges. 5 defensive tackles, 5 inside linebackers, 5 cornerbacks, 5 safeties, and, of course, 3 specialists, which was a punter, kicker, and a long snapper. So when you look at the defensive side of the ball here, just on the surface of, who they actually kept, 6 edge rushers, man.
It's a lot.
That makes you, yeah, it is. 5 D tackles. Corner's the one that catches me by surprise. I thought they kept 6, but they only kept 5. But again, we'll get into that tomorrow. I don't want to get halfway into it, a quarter of the way into it, and not actually be able to talk about it. If that makes sense.
Man, tomorrow it's going to be a great episode. Would it be the first half would be the defensive depth chart, and the second half you jump over to Rumble and get to watch a Savion Williams chalk talk?
Ooh, it's going to be great, man. It's
Set
going to be
your
great.
dials.
Right here.
And then we're also working on Baron Sorrell chalk talk already, and Colin Oliver's chalk talk as well. So that's right around the bend too. Anything else you guys want to hit on here? We got about 13 minutes to fill. Anybody in the chat, if you got a question, fire away. I see Nick McSwain said, did Tyler Davis get released? He's not on the roster. I think what happened there, Nick, was we didn't re-sign him. I want to say that his contract was up and they didn't sign him to a futures, but I could be wrong there. If anybody else has any information on that, let me know. Any questions in the chat, fire away. Let's go around the horn. Here we go. Nick asking about the show. Y'all going to do a day or a night show tomorrow? I think we may do a morning show and an evening show. I just got to see how everything goes. So that would give us an opportunity to do both of those chalk talks tomorrow for sure. So thank you for asking though. Looks like Chris the Casual In says he likes Sims over Fitzpatrick. I completely agree with that. How do y'all feel about that? If you're only going to carry 3 tight ends, who would you rather carry, Sims or Fitz?
I 100% agree with Chris. I'm taking Ben Sims. Love Fitzpatrick, but I'm taking Ben Sims.
Yeah, I agree. He's been too reliable, and I think the Packers, LaFleur, I think they just trust him, knowing exactly what he needs him to do and wants him to do in that offense.
Mm-hmm. And our Aaron Rodgers, not the Aaron Rodgers, sent me some DMs here, and he was asking about it. So let's kind of hit on this a little bit, man. Just if you guys aren't following him on Twitter, make sure you go follow him. Put your Twitter follow in the chat here if you don't care. It's just showing you as Aaron Rodgers, and when I jump out, obviously we'll lose that. But done a great job of just the entire roster breakdown here. And he kind of he says, I'm doing a Google spreadsheet of the roster. Green is players' rookie deal. Red is last year of the rookie deal. Yellow is the second plus contract. Light blue is the 5th-year option. And then, of course, he put his own little depth chart together here. Let's see what he's got just real quick going through it if anything changes. He's got Marshawn Lloyd as the number 2 running back. All right, so he agrees with our lads in that regard. Looks like in terms of wide receivers, he's got Savion Williams listed in the 3rd-string column. Of course, he'll get bumped to the 2nd-string column with Christian Watson going to the IR there for a good chunk of the season. Looks like he's got listed Kadeem Telford going to the practice squad, Donovan Jennings going to the practice squad. I was hoping like heck he would have Travis Glover going to the practice squad, but it doesn't look like he went there. So we could just dog on our boy Emilio for a second. So his starting offensive line, he's got Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, Jordan Morgan, Zach Tom. I completely agree with that as the offensive line. Anything you guys disagree with there that you want to comment on before we move forward to the defense side?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right. Base 4-3. Now, he did a base 4-3, and you're going to see Isaiah McDuffie in as the mock here. He's not saying that Isaiah McDuffie would start in the nickel. We kind of had a little conversation about that, right? Yeah. So he's got LVN and Rashawn Gary as your starting edge defenders, Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark starting at D tackle. He's got Edgerrin Cooper as the weak side backer, McDuffie as the mock, Quay Walker as the strong side linebacker if you're in your base 4-3. And then Jair Alexander on one side, Carrington Valentine on the other. I love that, me personally.
I found the error. He was asking in the chat, did anybody see the error on his list? It's Catan Bullard. He meant Catan Oladapo.
Oh, gotcha.
Catan Home Depot. Yeah, for sure. I think I found it. That's the error, right?
There it is. That's it.
There it is.
I like that he's got Carrington Valentine over Keyshawn Nixon. I personally think Carrington Valentine's a better corner than Keyshawn. However, I think they'll start Keyshawn. And I'm not like Jacob, I'm not like over the moon. Oh man, yeah, you got to start Carrington over Keyshawn. It's close. But I kind of like that he's got Carrington listed before Keyshawn there.
Yeah, if I had my option, that's what I would pick. Definitely. That would be my starting DB room right there for sure. Maybe with Bullard at the nickel, but I just don't think they're going to waste the money that they spent on Hobbs. So, yeah, I think this is realistic.
That's the one thing that's bothering me the most about this offseason, and it's not like I'm pissed off about it or anything, but it's, to me, Javon Bullard played his best football in the slot, in that nickel spot, and it seems like they're going to try to force him back to safety, and it might take some snaps away from Evan Williams, seeing that he was a second-round pick, because I really liked what Evan Williams did last year. But who knows, man? Jair may not be on the roster, and then Keyshawn, Nate Hobbs, and our boy Carrington Valentine will be the starting corners, and Javon Bullard – Javon Bullard would have to kick into the nickel, put Nate Hobbs outside, and you got Carrington kind of filling in there off the bench. That could be the case as well. The camp battle at cornerback, Tim, is going to be good too.
Oh yeah,
it really is.
It's funny how you can vacillate back and forth between asking yourself the same question. I remember a time being a Packer fan going, "Who's going to play corner?" Because there was nobody there to play corner. Now we're saying who's going to play corner, and it's because there's a gang of dudes that can play corner in Green Bay, and it's just a matter of getting the right lineup together. But I think these are all good problems to have. There's a lot of talent there. I think we need to, like you had said, we need to pepper in a little bit of age and veteran leadership in some of these position groups. But all in all, man, we've got young talent and we've got mid-tier talent, guys that are, just hitting their stride as veterans in this league. And, if we get one or two of these guys in the secondary to step up, you look at like KT Oladapo, Javon Bullard taking a step this year would be a great problem to have. We talked about Kalen King. We didn't get to see much of him. Maybe he makes a splash this year and all of a sudden that good problem gets even better. And
Micah Robinson is a big one.
Micah Robinson, another guy. We've heard so much talk off and on about Nate Hobbs and his addition to this team. Really, a guy like that I look at as someone who's just going to kind of find his role and fill it and do exactly what we want him to do in this defense. And we've talked about Ja ad nauseum, right? Whether or not he's a Packer. Honestly, at this point, I feel good either way, right? If he's playing ball for us, that's great. If not, if there's a deal that gets done or he's a post June 1 cut, whatever, the ball rolls forward and this secondary continues to grow. And I just feel real good about where we're at on the defensive side of the ball.
Definitely. He went on to say, here's a quick 53-man roster I worked up. So we might have to go with 24 on offense, 26 on defense. And I hear people talk about that a lot, Aaron. Me personally, I don't get too caught up with how many offense and how many defense are we taking. I want the best 53. If you're 3 heavy on defense and 3 light on offense, so be it, and vice versa. I just want the best 53 for sure. Yeah, he says next offseason is going to be a tough decision with players going into their 4th year. He says, let's see, there was something he mentioned down here toward the end here. Oh, this is interesting. He says next offseason is going to be a tough decision with players going into their 4th year. You got Malik Willis, Emmanuel Wilson, Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks, Malik Heath, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave. I don't want to talk about this. Carl Brooks, LVN, Brenton Cox Jr., Aaron Mosby, Carrington Valentine, and Daniel Whalen. So,
yeah, let's talk about that next year. I don't want to talk about it right now.
That's rough,
future problems for future us to talk about.
Better save a little bit of money, right, boys? You're getting ready to write some checks next year. So.
I mean, there's a handful of names there just on the surface that, that it might just alleviate itself, right? We talked about, some bubble guys. We talked about what are we going to do with Malik Willis.
I mean, we know we're going to pay Cox, so just wipe that off there.
I was going to say he'd be my first cut.
Shut up, dude.
Now, but Aaron Mosby is the one that really does stick out to me, especially with Colin Oliver and our boy Baron Sorrell. It just feels like Aaron Mosby's not going to make this roster this year. Hopefully, you can get him on the practice squad. And that's another example. We're going to talk defense tomorrow. I'm trying to stay away from it. It was so exciting to look at the defensive side of the ball. But that's going to be another – I think we're going to look at the defensive side tomorrow and go, we're in a lot better shape this year than we were last year.
Dude,
I look at Daniel Whelan, the Irishman, here on the bottom of this list. Makes perfect sense why we brought another Thunder Leg, big dog punter in for workouts, right? This is Goody again. Due diligence, planning ahead,
being prepared. If you can't work out a deal, Tim, you got a backup plan, right?
You got a backup plan. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Chris the Casual in says Musgrave will be gone. What do y'all think about that? You think Musgrave will be gone next year, or do you think they'll try to keep him around?
I think that's fair, right? I mean, you look at these names. If we're talking about, I think it's certainly. I don't know if I'd make the sweeping statement saying that for sure he's gone, but I would think if he doesn't, take a gigantic step this year, he'd probably be a candidate. Yeah, for sure.
It's not even close, Jacob. Right? I mean, you're choosing Tucker Kraft over Musgrave, right? I mean, that ain't even close.
It's not even. No, that's
not even. Yeah, it's a baby. See.
Yeah, it's Buckets Goldenberg. See,
that's right.
All right. Anything else y'all want to hit on, boys? We'll get ready to wrap up here. Anything at all?
Nah. I got nothing. Just still love the hat, Jacob. Love it. Classic.
Oh yeah,
one of my favorites.
One. It's a goodie. Yeah. I ordered a great new flat brimmed hat, a new Packers hat, which I have never seen this design before. I think it's could be a knockoff. Not saying. You guys know
people are saying, not everyone.
I don't pay full price. We'll see if I get something that was stitched together in some.
Jacob said it could be a knockoff. I may or may not have bought it in the basement in Chinatown.
That's right.
But I ever tell y'all that story? I don't think I did. One of my first experiences going to New York City.
Oh, you were in Chinatown?
Oh, went to the big old New York City, huh?
We went into the city.
Did you go to Sbarro and get the best?
Me a New York slice.
No, but we go to Chinatown and that's where all the knockoff spots are, right? They're selling all the fake Louis Vuitton and this and that, or whatever. And I was raised to be very, very aware of your surroundings, right? Mm-hmm. Mandy doesn't have a care in the world. Ain't nothing for her to run around barefooted like she's still back home in Kentucky. Like she don't care about nothing. We go in there and my head's on a swivel the entire time in the city. And we get to Chinatown and we decide, hey, she said, I'm going to go look at some knockoff purse. All right, cool, let's go. We go in this building. They open a door off the floor. We go down in the basement and the walls are covered in all this. I was just like, I looked at her once again, like many times in my life. What the hell have you got me into here? Like, this is how movies start right here. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, a van pulls up out back. They're trying to throw you in the back of the van and you're going to a third world country somewhere. So it's just amazing how two people can spend 25 years together and have two totally opposite viewpoints on the world that we live in. So you ever been to New York City, Jacob?
Nah, I'm good.
You heard it from a fan right here.
I have no desire to go there. LA, Chicago. Nah, I'm good.
I love New York City, but I'm a big history nerd. So when I go to New York City, I'm not there to go shopping and hit the clubs. I'm there to see where General Washington fought some of his battles there in the New York area and going up the White Plains and Sleepy Hollow and all that. But I personally love New York City. I've been 5 times. I think it's been now 4 times.
If I want to see a bunch of poop, I'll just go in the cow pasture.
And that's the thing, Jacob. It's not. I'm telling you, it's not. Where I was raised, I was taught they're rude, they're all asses, and the city is disgusting. It was totally the opposite experience for me every time I've been to New York. Now, I'm not hanging out, in the bad part of town. I'm in Manhattan, in that area, right? I'm telling you, man, the people, they heard our accent. They were absolute gold to us. It was a great experience. Same thing with Chicago, me personally, every time I've been to Chicago. But again, I've heard the stories and I've seen the videos online, and I'm sure it's all true. But I guess I've just gotten really, really lucky. But
so
anyway.
If we take a field trip to New York, we have to go with you and Mandy, and then we'll be good to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you'll be good, man. You kidding me?
Get ready to go.
We had a blast, dude. We had an absolute blast in New York. So I'd go back in a heartbeat. But I really like the, about 20, 30 miles north of Manhattan the best. So you get up in the Hudson Valley, and it's more country than you think. It's really good people up there. So really, really like the Hudson Valley area. So what did he just say? What did Deadfish say? Got to try a roast pork bun next time you go. You got to try a roast pork bun next time you go to Chinatown, New York. I'll check that out.
And then next time you go to Chicago, you got to try a pork chop sandwich. Got to make sure you get that Southside's finest, man.
For real.
Or the West Side. Go to the West Side and get a pork chop sandwich for sure. Got to try that.
All right. Yeah. For me, man, we went to Carmine's in Times Square, an Italian restaurant, and I'm almost positive there was a mob meeting happening at a table next to us, just based off of the folks. It was just the coolest ever. We drank way too much wine that night. We went through about 4 of those huge bottles of wine. Needless to say, Clayton was sleeping with his chin on the toilet seat that night, boys.
How did you know that they were mobsters? Did they order the gabagool?
Jacob, I'm so sick of you.
He was
You
the
were out of
best
control.
guy around.
That's how I know, because that's how they were talking. No, but they did. They looked. I actually asked the waitress. I said, okay, and I'd had a couple daddy sodas, a couple wines in me, and I said, "Hey, who are these people over there at this table right there?" She went and just walked off. I was like, oh, "Okay, all right." That's kind of the vibe I got too. So they were important, evidently. So there you go. He says 9 Chatham Square, New York, New York. So we're gonna take Jacob to the big city, Tim. That's my goal now. We're gonna drive.
Let's do it. Field trip. Hey, we'll go to the draft next year, right? In Pittsburgh, and then we'll hop on a little flight real quick. We'll go to New York.
Mandy is trying to convince me to go to the draft next year in Pittsburgh. She enjoyed it that much this year, and I'm telling you, I've never been to Pittsburgh, and that was my brother's favorite team, so that would kind of feel.
Do that. You could go to Scranton. You could make a whole big trip out of it.
God, Jacob.
The Electric City.
Yeah.
They call it that because of the electricity.
Yeah. In the compact spot. All right, this show sucks. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out and putting up with us. We will see you tomorrow. Maybe a morning show. I'm going to let the guys know. It just depends on how this evening goes. Definitely a night show tomorrow, but just keep your eyes on the YouTube channel, and you should see it pop up here pretty soon if we do schedule one for tomorrow morning. So are you both available in the morning?
I can be. Yes.
Right. Cool. Sounds good. All right. Everybody have a great night. Hit that like button on the way out. Check out the Patreon group. It's the best way to support the channel. Just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. Get all kinds of extra content in there and get yourself entered into some giveaways. We're going to do the Bo Melton autographed rookie card tomorrow. All right. We're going to be giving that away tomorrow. All you got to do is be a member of the $3 tier in Patreon. We'll put your name on the wheel and spin that sucker and give it away. So, again, last call for Michael Godfrey and Roger Davis. If we don't hear from them by the show tomorrow, then the Mason Crosby autographed jersey card goes to CJN.